I'm Kira and Deana here from Raising Adults podcast with show notes from our recent advocacy episode. So we wanted to condense and highlight for you some of the important aspects of advocacy that we talked about today and how to maybe implement those in your own parenting. And one of the first things you have to do as you're laying the foundation for this is lead by example. And Kira, I'd love you to share a little bit about the modeling element of this because it is so critical.
Yeah, I think that, advocacy is a topic that can feel really scary for a lot of parents who really don't like confrontation. And one of the things we talked about is even parents who are pretty assertive don't really like it either. I mean, it's not like I love it and I can't wait for the next confrontation. Right. I hate confrontation, but I do it anyway. And one of the reasons that I do it when it comes to parenting my kiddos is the modeling piece is key. If they're not seeing me advocate for them, how are they going to learn that they're worth advocating for? So how do they learn as they move into their adulthood that, hey, it's okay for me to self-advocate and stand up for myself and be assertive if they haven't watched their parents do it for them when they're little?
Yeah.
So that modeling piece is so important. And then the other piece of that that's really important to think about and that I talked about a lot on the episode is that there's a sense of self-worth that comes from watching a parent advocate for you. Like, wow, I must be worth it. I must be worth something if my parent is willing to go to bat for me. And from my work as a mental health professional, this is an area where I saw a lot of self-esteem issues, that kids felt like they didn't see their parents stick up for them, and it created the opposite, the absence of self-worth. Like, I must not be worth it. So not only do they then go out into the world and feel they can't self-advocate, they also internally have this struggle. So advocacy can really set a tone for, you are worth it. You are worth me being uncomfortable for. You are worth me standing up for. If something's not right, I'm going to show you that it's okay to say so. But there is a difference between doing that every moment of every day,
for sure,
and the appropriate time. So you talk a little bit about that because that's so important.
And I'll talk a little bit about just when it's where and when it might be appropriate, but also how you slowly hand it off as your children get older, because it's not going to look the same as when they're little. So obviously when they're younger, there'll be more of this, and the opportunities for it will be more frequent. So it could be as simple as a little scuffle on the playground and you need to go maybe talk to that other parent about what happened, or an issue at school. I mean, there's so many settings where this can happen. Sports is another big one. If your kids are involved in extracurricular activities or a sport, sometimes the way the coaching is handled or other parents in the stands maybe aren't being appropriate, and you might have to address something like that because it's best for your children. So I think we have to recognize there's more in quantity when they're younger, but also that the quality of the advocacy changes. And the reason it does is, of course, first of all, as they get older, they're going to do more of it themselves, and that's appropriate. You should slowly hand off the advocacy piece so that you're not the first line of defense anymore. They are. And I think that's really important, but where the quality also changes is in terms of, as their maturity develops, they're their own person. So even how their advocacy looks might be really different from what you would have said or how you would have said it, or even the person you would have gone to. So that's a good thing to be aware of. But with that handoff, just an important reminder that it's still important for your child, again, back to the worth piece, to know that you are available. If they really get stuck or reach an impasse with whoever they're dealing with, to know that they could come to you in a pinch and that you would help and step in whatever way necessary is really critical. So in terms of the long game, there's going to be more intervention from the parent in the beginning and then less over time. And then the quality is you get to do it the way you would do it when your kids are younger, because you're the one kind of in charge there. And then you've got to be okay with their handling of things later. And just one little note on that I talked kind of a little bit more about in the episode is that we have to, again, leave room for this idea that our kids are different people than us. And so that also comes to mean that, say an issue arises that you as a parent do think, even though they're older, I've got to step in on this one, and you talk to them about that. Also, don't skip that step. Talk to them about that. Hey, I'm thinking I really need to talk to so-and-so because this wasn't fine. That there has to be room for them to say no. That they start to own the decision-making about what merits a confrontation. and what doesn't.
You know what's interesting, we didn't actually talk about this on the podcast, but I'm thinking about it right now, is that really that's them advocating for themselves.
It is.
Right? Like, no, I don't want you to step
Yes.
in. Here's what I
Please
need.
stay over there.
Which is really good.
It is.
You also shared a really interesting nugget about, we think of advocacy as I'm helping make it right for my kids. I'm standing up for them so they get their needs met. But you shared an anecdote that was spot on and is a slice of this advocacy piece that we need to remember.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. And that advocacy is really about stepping in to their world, whether that be interacting with another adult that they encounter or organizations that they encounter, to do what's best for them, not necessarily so that they end up with a win. And the example I shared was just when my children were younger, my daughter's very first report card at an actual traditional school was straight A's. And I marched right in and said, I want to know if she actually earned A's or how your policies work. What are the standards here? Does everyone in first grade get straight A's? Because I wanted to start teaching her about earning her grades and actually gaining things on merit, not just coasting along, and understanding also about standards, because children are going to be are going to encounter standards all across their life, whether it's school, whether it's organizations they belong to, volunteering, sports, jobs. They're going to understand every organization has different standards and expectations, and they've got to learn how to navigate. How do I meet them? What counts as earning a certain standard or not? And so that might be a case where you would think, Deana, what on earth? Like, you were making sure she really deserved the A's. But yeah, I was, because there was a learning opportunity for her in setting a foundation. And so some of your advocacy might not look like a win, so to speak, for your child, but it is, because it's teaching them about the way the world works and opportunity for learning, which we are all about. Please be teaching your children at every opportunity.
Right.
You're their first and best teacher. And I went and talked to a teacher about that. So there you go.
It's true. And I think, coming back to that, how important the advocacy is in terms of what they see in the modeling.
Yeah.
It's also that. I said this on the podcast. I'll say it again. If you don't advocate for your child, no one else is going to do it. So you have to look at that and say, if I don't step in to help them learn about the world, if I don't step in to say, hey, that's not okay, because that's learning about the world too. It's saying that situation wasn't okay, and we're not going to let that slide. We're going to step in because we need to right that wrong. Then if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for them. And so they're going to miss that opportunity to learn that lesson, as well as learn about their self-worth, et cetera, et cetera. It's
So
the
true.
absence of doing it is still a learning.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to be teaching them something by whatever you do, including the absence of doing something. I mean, they're
Exactly.
going to glean something from that. And so as we wrap up, an important thing to consider is that even if you're strong and assertive like this one, it doesn't mean this is comfortable. And so it's really important for us to remind parents that this may involve purposely getting uncomfortable. And for some people, literally doing it while you're afraid of it or feeling nervous. And there can be actually an element of courage required here, that all of parenting will challenge you, but there's going to be elements of parenting that really require you to step outside your comfort zone. And definitely this is one of those, no matter where you fall on the spectrum. If it's hard for you to be assertive, that piece might be scary. Maybe the assertiveness piece isn't the issue, but just the fact that it could breed conflict or cause a problem for your child, that part maybe makes you nervous and go, oh, I'm really not excited about stepping into this. But what we talked about is the key part is the end of that sentence. I was nervous, I didn't love it, but I did it anyway. And Kira did a great job kind of bringing that home, how important it is in so many areas of parenting, but particularly with advocacy, that you do it anyway. Don't hold back. Stand in the gap for your children. Let them know they're worth standing in the gap for, and being able to push aside some of your own discomfort, right? I mean, that's
because
that's
I think
huge.
one of the myths I hope I debunked in the episode is that assertive people are really comfortable with it. I mean, most of us aren't. We do it anyway. That's the difference. But I hate confrontation, but I do it anyway because it's just incredibly important that I do and that they see me do it. So yeah, that concept of courage, I say to my kids all the time, I know you do too, that courage is not the absence of fear, it's the choice to do it anyway. And so to embrace that fear, like, yes, of course I'm afraid, of course this is uncomfortable, conflict is uncomfortable, but my kids are worth me being uncomfortable for.
Absolutely.
And what are they going to learn if I don't do it? and what are they going to learn if I do?
Yeah, so it's so worth it to embrace the discomfort the best you can and just do this anyway. And of course, for more on fleshing out all of what we just gave you a synopsis of, you can check out our episode on advocacy or any of our past episodes on Raising Adults podcast. We're on all the platforms, or you can also find episodes right at our website.
futurefocusedparenting.com. And don't hesitate to reach out if you're looking for some parent coaching yourself to work through any kind of sticky situation that you might be finding yourself in. Info@futurefocusedparenting.com.
Thanks for watching.